Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And good morning to everyone. Anybody there? Nobody's online yet, I guess. Okay. All right, I see lots of people coming online now. Okay, well, we've got 17. Maybe we'll have a small class today. I don't know. Maybe people are already taking their semester chuti for Raya. Okay, let's get started. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Okay, so is anybody there? Hello?
Yes, bro.
Okay, just wanted to make sure that there's actually people online that I'm talking to, so I don't sound like a crazy person. All right, so today's class, let's have a look at what we plan to do. All right. Okay, so today's class, we're going to start a new topic on community development participation. But a few things before we do that, that I need to cover. So please be sure to go ahead and do the attendance. Click on the attendance link, okay? Please don't forget to do that. And then just an update on your midterm exams. I am almost finished grading, doing the marking. And the marks have to be in by Sunday. So I'm going to try to finish them this afternoon, inshallah. So if you check back on the WhatsApp group, I think the marks will probably be posted up there, or maybe later today or tomorrow. Okay, you can check back. All right. And then just a reminder that assignment 1, your article critique assignment, is due in 2 weeks for week 8's class on the 20th of May. Okay. So as you see here in the Putra Blast, your video presentation for the article critique can be uploaded here to this Google Drive link. Okay, so I'm going to ask you to upload your videos straight to Google Drive. All right, so if you click on this link, it should take you to a folder in Google Drive, and here you can just straight away upload your video. Okay. Yeah, if there's any problem in doing that, please just let me know, yeah? Okay, just WhatsApp me and let me know, and I'll find another way of allowing you to do the upload. Okay, but for now, that is our plan. You can upload the video there. Now, for the written part of the assignment, the report that you have to do, for that one, you have to go down to the assignments folder. Okay, assignments folder here, and you'll see for assignment 1, this journal article summary critique. So this one is for the written report, all right? But the video should be uploaded to the Google Drive, all right? I think that's pretty straightforward. Anyone have any problems or questions about that? Is that clear, Jelas? Okay, so when you upload the video, please, as it says here, please just upload and do not view other students' videos, okay? Please respect other people's privacy and do not start watching other people's videos when you're in the Google Drive, okay? Just go ahead, upload your video, and then tutup, all right? Close it up, and then it's for me to view, not for everybody else, All right, so just to respect each other's privacy. All right, so there's that. And then any questions about that? Any questions about assignment 1, the article critique? Anybody have any problems so far with it or any questions about it? No? You guys are like mice. Are you there?
No
Nothing.
questions.
I think you all are ready for your chutti semester. Okay, thank you, Farhana. All right, so no questions. All right. Well, if there are any, you can always WhatsApp me and ask me if you have any questions. Okay. So in terms of your midterm exams, I'm going through them, and the grades are pretty good. Most of you did pretty well. I don't think it was a very difficult exam. Anybody want to comment on that? Did you find the midterm exam to be difficult? Susah ke tak? Senang. Right, quite easy, right? Anyone have any reaction? Okay saja. Okay, medium. Shazrina. Okay. Yeah, I mean, the grades are, I mean, most so far, everyone's doing pretty well. There's a few 12, 13, 14 out of 20. But most of the grades are in the range between 16 to 16, 17 out of 20, you know, so most of you did really well. I mean, to me, that's really well. If you do 17 out of 20, I mean, that's like what, 17 times 5 is 50, 30, it's 85. So that's an A. So I think most of you did quite well. And of course, well, we'll go over them next week. So that's the other thing. If you scroll down here and what's on the Pucha Blast to week 8, okay? So week 8 in 2 weeks. Next week is Chuti. So our next week is week 8 in class. All right. So we're going to go over the midterm exam. Okay. So I'm going to return your papers to you through your UPM email, and you can see your result, and you can see the what you did and where you got your points off and stuff. And we'll go through the questions. There's only 5 questions, so we'll just do it quickly. But we'll go through the questions. Okay. So you can see how you did. And then if there's any problems with the marking, you can let me know. Okay, so we'll do that. We'll start next class with that. Okay. And then, of course, your assignment 1 will be due. All right. And then I'll cover this next class. Don't worry about this for now. Assignment 2. Okay. But you should start thinking about, for your assignment 2, you should start thinking about what community you want to study. What community do you want to develop your program for? Okay. So when we come back in 2 weeks, I'll ask you to start thinking about that for your assignment 2. Okay, but week 8 will be mostly just watching this movie. Okay, it's The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind. Okay, so bring your popcorn for week 8. Okay, for the movie. Okay, so we're gonna watch that movie together. It's only about 2 hours, so we'll watch it in class, and then I'll have some reflection questions for you at the end. Okay, so week 8 will be kind of an easy, laid back movie watching week. All right, so after your semester break. All right, so that is the plan. So tonight, back to today's class. Today's class. So I'm going to start a new lecture. I'm going to lecture a bit today on participation in community development, and then we're going to do another group exercise like we did a couple of classes ago. I'm going to put you in groups and ask you to do some work online, and I'll explain that later. Okay, so if there are no questions, then I'll get started on today's lecture, and then we'll move into the rest of the content. Okay, so we're moving to our 5th topic for the class, which is called participation in community development. So So we ended up, before the midterm exam, we ended up talking about types of community development programs. And that was the last activity we did before the exam, where I asked you to go and find some example programs, right? So now we're going to get into more of the nuts and bolts of actually doing community development. Okay, starting with participation, and then actually developing programs for communities, which will be in the future few classes. Okay, so let's start with participation. So when we talk about participation in community development, there's a history behind it. Like we've talked so much in this class already about history of national development plans and so forth. There's a little bit of history in terms of the participation in development. As we saw in the national development plans of Malaysia, the early development plans did not focus so much on the development of the rakyat, of the citizens, of the rakyat of the country in development. It was more on top-down types of projects, right? But then as we saw, as we went on through the years, up until our most recent developmental plan, there's been an increase in trying to get communities involved in development. Okay, so this sort of goes along with what's happened globally, as you can see on the slide there. In the this 1960s, for example, and the 1970s, there was an increase in the UN, for example, pushing participation in development. Okay, participation by citizens. Because participation became one of the ingredients in development to complement the approaches before 1960, which had been too economic oriented. So pre-1960, much of the emphasis on development was on economics, building up economic wealth of the country and so forth, developing industries, developing infrastructure for economics and stuff like that. But post 1960, there's this trend towards more increased levels of participation by the people, the citizens in the country. Okay, so as you can see here, other characteristics of development before the 1960s. Okay, so a lot of top-down planning. Okay, so for example, in Malaysia, we had the institution of Felda, of Felkra, and all these big development programs, right? And these were very much top-down, right? They come from the federal government to the local communities, right? And there was very little two-way communication, very, very little two-way communication between government and the rakyat. Oh, I can't do that. Huh? Sorry, I'm just trying to use my pen here. Okay, so much of it was top-down, very little two-way communication, all right, between people and government. It was government-led, okay, and so governments pretty much dictated what happened, right? Now what we have is we have a lot of what's called grassroots involvement and participation, right? So what is meant by the term grassroots? Why are they called grassroots anyway? Who can tell me? Anyone want to share? Who can tell me what grassroots means in English? Talk about grassroots programs. Anyone? You gonna make me call on somebody? Uh-oh, I'm gonna have to call on someone. Guess I might have to call on someone.
No.
Yeah.
Is it like a basic program?
Oh, yeah, okay. A basic program. Well, it could be, yes, it could be a basic program, but even a top-down program could also be a basic program. Like the government wants to do a top-down basic program. And I'm assuming by basic, you mean what? What do you mean by basic? Vicky, do you want to elaborate a little bit on what you mean by basic program?
Prof, what is it again?
Yeah,
Saya
what
tidak
do you,
understand
what do you mean by basic program? Basic program makna apa? What does basic mean when you said basic program just now? You're not sure.
Maybe the program is conducted by not by a big organization.
Okay. All right. So it's maybe like a small residents association or something, or maybe just a group of community members get together and decide to do a program. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that definitely would be an example of a grassroots program. Yep. Yeah, that's a good example. Okay. So from that, what can you kind of, or anybody else in the class, what can you gather in terms of the definition, or what does it mean? Grassroots programs. Yes, Isa.
The lower of the community.
Yeah, it comes from the community, right? It comes up. So the ideas, the planning, the identified need for the program, it all comes from the community. It doesn't come from the government. It's not the government telling the community what to do. You should do this. Like a lot of these, for example, like dengue programs, a lot of the dengue awareness programs for dengue fever in the country, you see those big banners, right? Ministry of Health wants you to do this. Ministry of Health has a program. Ministry of Health. Those are top-down types of programs, right? Coming from the federal government to the local community. But a grassroots program would be the community itself coming together and saying, you know what, to fight dengue, we need to have some kind of system in our community to identify hotspots, for example, right? So that would be a grassroots program. It comes from the bottom, right? Rather than top down, it comes from the bottom up. That's why it's called grassroots. It's in the grass. It's the roots in the grass, underneath the dirt. Okay, so it comes from the bottom. Okay, so yeah, so you guys got the idea, right? So that's essentially what grassroots means. So you see, but early on, and actually even when I came to Malaysia like 20 years ago, like you guys are too young obviously to understand at that point, but even at that time there were a lot of top-down initiatives, but you see a lot more what we would call grassroots programs, a lot more citizen initiatives to do stuff in communities. We see it in the youth sector, definitely. In the youth development sector, there's a lot more grassroots work going on. So like 20 years ago, almost all youth associations or youth organizations in Malaysia were registered with the Registry of Society, ROS. But now you see so many that don't want to register. They don't want to register. They want to be independent, right? So they're not really in need of government support, or government approval, so they just work on their own. And many of them are what we would call grassroots types of youth programs. They just do activities related to their interests in the community. Okay, so this is a big shift, like I think that we've seen over the past few decades, past 20 to 30 years. It's been a big shift in the way Malaysia has done community development. So why is this unidirectional approach here, as you see, this top-down government approach? Why is this problematic? What is it? What kind of problems does it create? What do you guys think? You're getting all these programs from the government telling you to do this, government telling you to do that. Why might that be a problem? Can anybody venture a guess?
Okay, Prof. Maybe I think the aims for the program are not aligned with what the government sticks. Maybe government ask them to do something, but the program actually they aim for something else. Yeah.
Absolutely, great answer, Hadi. Yeah, it's just not aligned with the needs of the community, right? So the government says, well, again, you need this dengue awareness program. But the community maybe it's a community in like Putrajaya or Bangi, and you have a lot of well-educated people. They understand the problem of dengue fever. The problem is not awareness in that community. The problem is just motivation. Just people, not enough people wanting to do it. So the government, because of their blanket approach, they just blanket to all communities and say, this is what you need to do. But it's not really aligned with what the community needs or the community wants. Okay, so that's often the problem with top-down initiatives, is that they're not in tune or not in touch with the needs of the community. Okay, so that's the major. There's other more minor problems, but that's the major one. So yeah, good, Hadi, thanks. All right. So bottom-up approach is necessary, okay? Because when you have people participating in the community, in identifying the problem, planning the problem, then it ensures that the program, the initiative, is going to be aligned with the community's needs, okay? So exactly like what Hadi said just now. All right, so that's really important. And so they've realized this. After the 1960s and so forth, they started to realize that these top-down approaches were just not that effective. Okay, so another two concepts that emerged. So as participation of community became more regular and became sort of normalized, it was kind of the normal process after that. So we saw mobilization. Okay, so mobilization is a process to activate the use of human resources. Okay, so for example, you have all these people in the community, all these people that are, they have a lot of skills, they have a lot of desire to help out, to get involved, but they're just sitting there not doing anything because the government is coming in and doing all the programs for the community, right? So it's a waste of human resource, a waste of human capital, right? So mobilizing those human resources. Okay, and this is like the exam question I gave you, number 5 last week. I asked you about the community development program and how it mobilizes human resources, right? And so very much related to that. Okay, so yeah, community development programs, when they're done well, they mobilize all those human resources and get them active, get them involved, get them contributing to the community. Okay, and an intervention, okay, where a government or authority participates in the planning of the program with the agreement of the people. Okay, so not all government programs are necessarily totally top down. So nowadays we have a lot of programs where government works closely with the community in a sort of partnership format to do different types of programs. And that's the best way. That's the best way, is that you have the government supporting it, but you have the local community involved and making decisions and mobilized, to participate. So some of the other characteristics of community participation, okay, these are just things that we should know. So community participation requires volunteers. All right. Now, this is community work is not paid work. You do it because it's your community, because you love your community and you want to see your community to do well, to succeed, to be healthy, etc. So volunteers, of course, right? You can have volunteer contribution. All right. Involvement of the community in decision making, again, decisions made at the grassroots, implementation, evaluation, and sharing the benefits. Okay, so full involvement. This means full involvement of the community. So it's not like the government comes in, makes all the decisions, implements, and the community members just, go and collect their kue or their teitare or something. No, that's not community development. Okay. Exercising the rights of community in problem identification and problem solving. This is an important issue, especially with things like environmental programs. Okay, exercising the rights of community. So in some communities, for example, government comes in and says we want to build a dam, in a rural area, or we want to gazette a piece of land in a rural area for building a new highway or a new university or something. Right? There's a lot of issues about rights that come into those types of programs, right? And so the community has rights to say, well, we want this program or we don't want this program, right? So that the community has to be allowed to exercise its rights, right? Another one, an effort to unite people in order to control the utilization of physical and human resources. Okay, so communities must be united, right? There must be unity in the community in order to control the utilization of human resources. Okay, if you don't have that unity, then it's really hard to make decisions about how they want to make use of their resources. So, and I've seen this even in my own community. Sometimes community members, they don't agree, or there's fighting among members about how to utilize community resources, and it creates problems in the community. Things don't get done, yeah? Much in Parliament, Parliament, the national level, the parties fighting, cannot agree. Nothing gets done. Okay, so there must be an effort to unite the people in order to move forward with the utilization of resources. Okay, an effort to operationalize democracy. So at the community level, there's a lot of sort of democratic practices. So for example, often, anytime you have this, like this one, involvement up here, this one is very much related to this. Because this involvement here is basically democratic process, right? When people in the community are involved in decision-making, etc., that's a form of democracy in action. It's not like the old days where, the Ketua Kampong makes all the decisions for everybody, right? That's kind of sort of like following the monarchy or the monarch model, where the ruler, the leader, the Amir makes all the decisions for everybody. And that's, of course, that's sort of like the older model for doing things. But in democracy, people have opportunity to give their views on things and to make decisions. So community development, when it's working well, really works democratically. Okay, so involvement by all the members. Okay, and ultimately this will lead to empowering the community. Okay, so people feel like they have a say. People feel a sense of belonging, a sense of ownership, that they feel like they have the ability to shape the community and so forth. Okay, so that's empowerment. So the community really drives its own decisions and so forth. Okay, things are not just being dictated by the government, but the community gets to make the decisions. Okay, so these are some important characteristics of community development in terms of participation. What does participation mean? What does it mean? What is the the meaning of participation when it comes to community development? Okay, so these are some of the key characteristics of that. Okay, any questions about any of these? Anything that's not clear? Are there any words here that you're not familiar with? Okay. And don't be shy if, because, a really important part of learning is just understanding language and understanding the meaning of words. Okay, regardless of what language you're learning. So even I'm an native English speaker, but even when I read something, if there's a word I come across, I'm not sure the meaning of it, I go and look it up because it helps me to learn about that thing more. So if you come across a word in my slides or in my discussion in my lecture that you're not familiar with, just please let me know. I'm happy to share. Okay, I don't want anybody to be confused about language or anything. Okay, so according to the ILO, which is what? Anybody know the ILO? Oh, here's a chat box question. Oh, no question. Okay, the ILO. Anyone know what the ILO is? Stand for? International. Oh, sorry, go ahead. How did I cut you off?
Maybe International Law Organization, right?
Yeah, close.
Labor or
yeah, Farhana got it.
Labor, sorry.
Yeah, Farhana got it. Labor organization. You were close. Yeah. So the ILO, they way back in 1984 defined participation as mass sharing in decision making, sharing in implementation, and sharing of the benefits. Okay, so that's a simplified definition. Okay, a bit more simple, just 3 elements. Okay, so The community is involved in decision-making. They're sharing decision-making. They're sharing implementation, and they're sharing the benefits. Tujuh, simple. Initiative of community and development planners in the process of decision-making, implementation of program and evaluation, and sharing benefits. All right. So here the initiative is taken by the community. And this is really important. Again, it's that it comes from the community. All right. Initiative means it comes from them. They make the decision, they decide. All right. So ideally, when you have communities that are very empowered, they're very strong. Like I live in a taman that's our residents association is very active, very active. Leadership is very good. They're very active, and the members. I mean, the community itself is very involved, very active. Okay, so you really see that the community takes a lot of initiative to do things. You know, like several years ago, we had a very big problem with crime in my area, my community. Jinaya was quite bad. You know, so the community was very proactive in coming up with its own resolution for that problem. You know, so for example, building a fence, installing security, choosing the right security company, and all the rules that go along with that. How much everyone has to pay every month. So it's a community initiative that was very much. You know, but they also brought in outside partners like the local government. They brought in other organizations to help them make some of these decisions and then institute some of the changes. And so that's what a really good community development process does, is that it comes from the community, originates from the community, but then the community uses and partners with other organizations, agencies, government, etc., to further the community's interests. All right. So we're going to see that in a minute. So, and this is another definition of by Castillo. He gives us some additional definitions here. Okay, so membership is an important one. So membership is, when it comes to community, membership can be very important. It gives people that feeling or that sense of belonging. Okay. So if you have an organization or a community organization and you're an official member, you know, it comes with a certain sense of belonging. Okay. And then there's the contribution of personal labor, materials, monetary assistance. Okay. So it's membership, it's contribution, patronage. Okay. Patronage. What does patronage mean? Anybody know? Has anybody heard that word before? Patronage? If you're a patron or a patron, I don't know how you pronounce it, of someone or something, anyone know what this means?
Maybe
So-
patron, maybe a leader, bro. I don't know.
No, not quite, not quite. It has more to do with like a transaction. Like, for example, if you go and buy something in a store, you're a patron of that store and you're supporting that store through your business. So this is more like support. You know, you support. Patronage is like support. It's usually economic support, you know, or not. Well, not always. So it's support from by agencies. So patronage of agency, meaning support by or from agencies, other agencies. Okay, so like I mentioned before, communities often get support from outside agencies, outside organizations. Attendance at community assemblies. Okay, so yeah, so there's usually some type of community activities, right? Assemblies, meetings, courses, workshops, dialogue. So there's activities essentially. There's activities that go along with participation. And then there's something Castillo refers to something called cognitive participation, being the recipients of information about community activities. So constantly being informed, right? Recipients of information, constantly being informed about what's going on in the community is another aspect of participation, right? So it's more cognitive, meaning it's more informational. You know, you're being informed all the time of what's going on. So, you know, effective communities or community organizations they're very good at disseminating information, so you're always in the know, right? You're always up to date on what's happening, the latest program, this person in some, you'll see in some like, very close-knit kampong, or in where you have a lot of maybe elderly people living together, there's all this information constantly being passed around. Everybody always knows what's going on in the community. That's a good example of cognitive participation. So there's just really good sharing of information in the community. Okay, that's another important aspect of participation. If you don't know what's going on, if you don't know what's happening, it's really hard to be a participant. It's really hard to participate actively. Okay, so what's next here? So factors contributing to community participation. Okay, so what are some of the factors that lead to participation? Well, one is the benefits. Okay, so if I join this community or if I participate in this community, what am I going to get out of it? And that's a very human question. It's a transactional kind of question. Everybody always wants to know, what are they going to get out of it? Obviously, it's a very kind of human thing. Most people want some kind of benefit from it. Doesn't necessarily mean they're going to get economic or material benefit, but maybe they just want the benefit of feeling like they're a part of something, a sense of belonging, for example. Okay, that's also a benefit. It's a type of benefit that they get from it. Okay, so it's either material or non-material. That's a non-material gain or benefit. Availability of organization. Okay, so another factor that leads to participation is how available is the organization, right? As a vehicle for participation. It provides leadership. If people want to get involved in leadership activities, programs are planned and implemented. So they have active programs that are planned and implemented. The organization provides structure, rules, procedures, administration, etc. People don't like to be a part of something that's too informal. They like something that's, you feel like it's structured. It's something that's working. It's not just this like loosey-goosey thing. You don't really know what's happening, what's going to happen in the future, and it's not very formal. People like that. They like that structure. And it's helpful. It's used for channeling resources. Okay, so it can be a very useful vehicle for channeling resources. So, for example, say they want to do a community fundraising program, right? So there's ways of channeling those resources into fundraising activities. Okay, so this is another factor that leads to participation. All right. When life is in danger, okay, so yeah, oh darn, sorry. My doodles are still up there. Erase this stuff. Okay, so yeah, community participation is often very high when life is being threatened. Safety, right? Flooding. We have the banjir all the time in Malaysia, East Coast, Johor, whatever. People really come together, right? There's that sense of community, that sense of belonging really occurs when there's a threat to people's lives. All right. When dengue fever, now we have COVID-19, right? So communities are mobilizing in different ways during COVID-19, of course, maybe more online communities, but you see a lot of calls for people to give contributions to frontliners and stuff like that. So there's different ways that communities come together, community organizations also come together when life is being threatened. Feeling of responsibility, okay? So it helps people to feel responsible. Again, this is related to altruism or contributing to causes, right? And so there's a social value of wanting to participate. So people, there's just something in us that, often we feel that we want to give back, right? That concept of giving back. You want to give back to the community. You want to participate and give back by giving your charity or your time or whatever. So, for example, parents who are involved in the PTA. Okay, PTA. In Bahasa, PTA is what? What is PTA again? what's PTA in Bahasa? Parent Teacher Association. It's called
PIBG.
yeah, PIBG. I forgot. Yeah, PIBG. Yeah. So that's a common one for people who have kids in school. You know, they get involved in PIBG, right? And so that's example of you know they want to take responsibility for their children's education. They want to play a role. They want to have a sense of contribution to their children's education. Of course, they cannot be teachers. They cannot run the school, but they join PIBG because they think that they can help the schools to provide a better education for their kids. So again, it's a feeling of responsibility for them. Knowledge about the program, again, this relates to what I just said before about information sharing. So when information sharing is good, when there's a lot of knowledge about a program, people tend to participate more. All right. So here's an example of this mega project in Sarawak a few years ago, the Bakun Dam. So the community was really united against the building of the dam because they were afraid of the negative impact the project would have on, like, say, the environment, right? Or the communities that were there, how it would affect them and their environment. So the NGOs partnered with the communities to protest the building of that dam. Okay, so that's an example of how knowledge can be used to really mobilize participation, right? And you see this nowadays all the time with different causes or different issues, right? So there's the communities share information, people who learn about what's going on, and then they react in some way, right? So through that knowledge sharing process. Okay. And so who are the actors in participation? The actors are those who participate. So anybody in the community, all right? And it depends on the type of program. For example, this program called Healthy Lifestyles for Expecting Mothers. Here's an example program. Okay, so there's the target group in terms of the actors in the program, right? Who's involved? Okay, so target group. So every program, community development program is going to have a target group. In this case, it's mothers expecting babies, right? And that includes family members as well as husbands, such as husband. It includes hospital personnel, such as doctors, specialists, nurses, and support staff, and it involves the district clinics and the staff. Okay, so in terms of actors, it's the programs that are the people that are being targeted by the program, okay, but also the service providers, the hospital personnel, as well as the clinics and the staff. Okay. Oops. Hold on. All right. In addition, the program also includes researchers. All right. So they want to also do maybe program evaluation. So they involve researchers. Okay. Also, Ministry of Health people are involved. Why? We don't know, but maybe they want to be involved. Maybe they want to monitor the program, or they want to see if the program can be replicated or something. And then even donor agencies, international donor agencies like WHO, maybe they're providing funding for the program. Okay, so a lot of these community, remember we talked last class about the international type of community development programs, even though they're local community programs, they get support or funding from international organizations. So this is an example where the WHO provides funding for this Expecting Mothers program. Okay, and maybe it's channeled through the Ministry of Health, and that's why the Ministry of Health is involved. Okay, but that's usually the case if it comes from an international organization. It'll be channeled through the government to the community. All right, and then you have the community leaders, such as the JKKK. All right, so actually a lot of actors involved in this program, even though it's probably not a very big program. Expecting Mothers, it's Healthy Lifestyle for Expecting Mothers. It's not a huge program probably, but you can see that it involves a variety of different actors, from target group, hospital staff, researchers, international agencies. Okay, everybody, these are all considered actors in the program. Okay, so community programs are not only solely comprised of the community members. Okay, and that's really important to remember. So everyone see that? Okay, so what I want to do is I'll take a break from the lecture, and I want to ask you this question. I'm going to actually share. I'm going to share my screen here. Before I do that, sorry. Okay, let's share. So the question is, when would you personally, or when do you participate in a community? What would motivate you to participate in a community? Okay, so you can write your answer on the whiteboard. Okay, so I'm going to share the whiteboard. Okay, so I do believe, and I have not yet used this whiteboard in class, but I do believe that you can write your answer directly to the whiteboard. Can somebody just try and see? Does it work? You can type it, I think, or you can. Are you able to do it? Ah, there goes Farhana. She's doodling. I think there's a text. There's a text option. You can just text, use the text one. Okay, it works. Great. Okay, so try and answer the question. You can just write one or, just one or two. But when, so maybe some of you are involved in Pasuma or you're involved in other communities, maybe your geographic community, whatever it is, what motivates you to participate? And if you're not a participant, maybe think about what would motivate you. When would you get involved in your community? We just discussed some of those factors from the literature. So now I want to ask you personally. So go ahead and just write your responses on the whiteboard. Right mind. But you guys, you can't type, huh? When that's mine. Come on. So this is Nabila, I guess. Who wrote that?
Yes, it's me.
Yeah, I thought I saw your name above it. Okay, so when there's benefits, clear benefits. Oh, Farhana cannot. She's using your phone. Okay, Tapa. For those who can use, go ahead. Personal interest, friends, okay? So when there's some sort of social capital, and then also personal interest. Yeah, social capital is an important one. Others? Hey, come on, y'all. 33 of you in class. I only see 3 responses. To learn beyond the textbook, networking to showcase my talents. Okay, very good. Okay, so again, networking of social capital to showcase my talents. So whoever wrote that, I'm going to ask you to showcase your talents to others or to yourself. In other words, you want to sort of prove to yourself that you can do it, or is it to let everybody know that you can do this thing?
To myself, Prof.
Okay. Oh, it's Pravina. Okay, Pravina. Thank you. Yeah, learning beyond the textbook. That's a good answer, actually, because it's experiential. Yeah, it's experiential learning. Very, very important type of learning that comes with experience. There is no substitute for experience. So, who else? Come on. Alia, I see you trying to write something, but it's not coming out. Others? Kenapa semua malu? Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you, Asma. Ashma, sorry. Okay, so Shara said to help people when they're having difficult time with things, and to build confidence when joining the program. Gain new experience and see how other people are handling the program. Okay, yeah, gain experience. That's learning. Giving back. Okay. Any others? Want to help people and gain new knowledge about different communities. All right. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot, especially you guys, young people tend to, I think those are three really important reasons why young people especially get involved in community. One, for the experience to learn, also networking, social capital, either to meet new people or to do with their friends. And then also to gain more experiences working with other people. Yeah, acquire social skills, again, learning. Okay, good. All right, Jesse. I saw Jesse trying to write something. Okay, help people because love to see happy people, gain experience, meet new friends. Help people, meet new people. All right, so the social networking involved, social capital again. All right, good. All right, so I will stop sharing that one. Oh, darn it. Oops. Hadi, for me, I think what happened when somebody fell the, I think you got cut off, Hadi. You want to finish that? When somebody, okay, feel the importance of volunteering, okay? Yeah, maybe like I wrote in mine, sense of, and maybe it's just because I'm older, I think this is also related to age, as you get older, you do it for different reasons. So I think people, when they get older, there are reasons for participating change. Okay, so, but there's a sense of importance, there's a sense of meaning and purpose that goes with it, and I think that's, as I've noticed, getting older, that becomes more of a priority. That becomes more important. Like for you guys as young people, social capital, learning new things and all that, meeting new people, because that's where you are in your life in terms of your development. But when you get to like middle age, like my age, it's more you want to do things that are in line with your sense of purpose in life, what you feel is meaningful. Maybe you want to give back and help out in certain particular issues, stuff like that. So I think, yeah, that's a good. So you pointed out something there, Hadi. I think that there is a developmental kind of aspect to it as well. Okay, thank you for your comments. Let's just take a short break, okay? So it's almost 12:30. Been about an hour, so let's take maybe just 7 or 8 minute break. Okay, get away from the computer. Sekejap. Boleh?
Okay, Prof.
All right.
Okay,
See
Doctor.
you in a couple minutes.
Okay, Prof.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So let's just continue with the lecture. Just a few more, not much longer. Then I'm going to let you guys work on an in-class activity. Okay, so everybody back? Okay, so just some of the more practice or operational issues related to participation. Okay, so important things to know. These are sort of practical guidelines. All right, so we have to know the context of participation. Okay, what does that mean? Well, context usually refers to the local environment that you want to do something in. Okay, so social environment, cultural environment, political, economic characteristics of the community. So you have to understand the community, right? So we often call this I'm trying to think of the term. I forgot the term. Setting analysis. You do a setting analysis of the community before you start, right? To know what is the context of participation. So, for example, does the community have a history of participation? Is it the type of community where residents or members are used to participating, right? Again, what is the social background of the community? Is it B40? Is it M40? Is it U40 or whatever? The cultural and racial background of the community also plays a role in that as well. Political, economic characteristics, etc. So just understanding what kind of community it is, all right, the context of participation, and to what extent do they typically participate, right? And then specifically the institutional arrangements that support the activities. General understanding of the program, previous experiences of the program, availability of resources, okay? So what kind of support do they have for their activities? Okay, so if it's a community that's very active, they're gonna have different types of support, maybe support from local government, support from federal government, maybe the members themselves donate, they have a lot of sort of people in the community that donate money and support and so forth, if it's in a more middle class community, all right? And so all these are important to understand. So we have to know the context of participation. So before you go into a community and you want to do a program, it's important to know, well, what is this community's sort of history and culture like when it comes to participation? Okay, and then preparation. So people begin to learn how to participate and work with social institutions. Interaction, dialogue, and meeting between community institutions are necessary, and participation increases community empowerment. Okay, so to prepare for participation, people have to know how to participate, right? How to work with, for example, different institutions, how to work with government, right? And sometimes this is so difficult. A lot of people are not used to it. They don't know what the expectations are, right? Like, what does participation mean? Does it mean I just show up for meetings? Does it mean that I take the lead on a project? What does it mean to participate? And what is it like to work with, for example, a local government? So for example, I've never worked with local government in Malaysia. So if I were to join a program and I was asked to work with local government, I might not be very clear as to what I have to do. What is that like? Okay, so that's why there's a need for interaction, dialogue, and meeting between community and institutions. So they have to have a series of ongoing meetings, dialogues, discussion, okay, to figure out how it's going to work and to figure out how to do it best. All right. The bottom line is that participation increases a community's sense of empowerment. So we really want to increase participation and ensure participation as much as possible. So for example, some of you are probably involved in PASUMA, and maybe you're just not aware of the importance of involving PASUMA members in the decisions of PASUMA. Okay, so maybe you are elected as the president, vice president, treasurer, whatever, and you just assume that you have free reign to make all the decisions. You never thought that, well, participation by the members is really important, okay? Because we want PASUMA to feel empowered. We want the Pasuma community to feel like they can go out and they can really, represent the HRD students really well. They can do programs that are going to be really impactful, etc. Okay, so as leaders in communities or in organizations, which are a form of community, as we learned, ensuring participation is really important. And being open to participation, being open to the members participating is very important as a leader. Okay, you have to allow for that. You must allow for that participation. Okay, and then project structure, another important operational element of participation. Okay, so what are the existing local institutions? What types of leadership are there in the project? Is there just one leader who does everything? Do you have a leadership committee, an exco? And what are their roles, right? Is there local conflict? Is there political tension? Okay, so these are things that also have to be considered and taken into account. The project structure, right? What structure is in place? How does that structure function? Okay, and how is it going to affect the program or the community? Of course, the objectives of the project are very important. So what do you aim to achieve? Okay, the objective is jointly formulated and understood by the community, right? Feasible and responsible to felt needs. So when there is real participation in the community, and I don't mean just like surface level participation on paper, but when there's actual participation by the community helps to formulate the objectives of whatever activities the community is engaged in. Okay, so when you have participation in community, it means even the community objectives or the program objectives are jointly formulated. Okay, and that way it ensures that the program is responsible to the needs of the community. Okay, so sometimes we don't see this, especially if we look at the way, say, for example, UPM does things. UPM has a very sort of traditional structure as an organization. It doesn't use much of a participatory approach to making decisions. Sometimes it does, but a lot of times it does not. So, for example, if I ask you guys, does UPM ever consult the students when it makes policies about the students, related to the students? Do the students participate in the decision-making of the UPM community? And to what extent do they participate? How would you answer that question? Anybody? Have any experience with this? How might you answer that question? In some countries, students are very active in helping universities to make decisions, right? And maybe even in Malaysia, there's some universities that do that. I don't know about UPM. That's why I'm asking you guys. Anybody have any idea? What is your perception? If you don't have direct experience, but what is your perception of that? Do you have a view on that? Nobody? I'm just curious. I would be interested to know.
Yes, Prof. I think in my opinion, I think the relationship between the UPM, basically UPM administration and the student, when they want to when they want to make a new policy, they need to consult with student basically. But for what I see in UPM, I think there's a way on how the UPM, maybe the administration do in order to find the solution regarding the policy. Yeah, but for me, I think because I am, how to say it?
Basically,
okay, right, it's okay. Basically, how to say yeah, actually the thing is UPM need to consult with student basically, and they need to consult with student on why they need to consult on what they need to do or implement a new policy regarding the student maybe. So
They should. You're saying they should.
it is a must, I say.
Yeah.
It's a must, and yeah, they should. Yeah, they should. Yeah,
But do
should.
they?
And
Do you get the sense that
might-
they do?
how to say, actually, I think in the sense of, yeah, in my opinion, I think they done it, but in a sense of student, for what you call it, dalam pemerhatian saya as a regular student, as
Yeah.
a normal student who is not, what you call it, is not a MPP or
Oh, okay,
who is
yeah.
not
Holding like
someone
leadership.
who's who is not in a leadership process or in the administration. So basically, I cannot
Sure.
justify between, cannot justify. But maybe they already done the process, but in terms of whether it is, what you call it, it is open to others, maybe it is more an subjective issue maybe.
I see.
Maybe it when they want to come up with a new policy, they, what you call it, they gather around the MPPs and discuss it maybe.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting because Farhana in the chat box, she wrote a very interesting response. She said, I think maybe for policy of UPM, the management does not involve the student participation, but for the students' affairs, involves the students like MP through MPP. Yeah, which would make sense. I think, I think like that. Yeah, I mean, I think you're probably right. Both of you guys are probably right. It's more probably for, I mean, they probably utilize MPP as the sort of student representative body. And it would be really interesting to study to see what role MPP plays, how much participation they even have with the university management in terms of decision making. You know, like sometimes like youth parliament in Malaysia, for example, they have youth parliament that's supposed to give recommendations to the real parliament or the country's parliament, representing the youth views on things. So to what extent Parliament actually takes those into consideration? Well, we don't really know. Same with MPP. Like to what extent do they actually influence the decisions of the management of UPM? We don't know. We don't really know. Okay, but there is a body there, at least a representative body. Okay, so as a community, it's kind of hard to say because like as a lecturer, even I don't know how much even as a professor, I don't know how much influence I would say I have in terms of my participation in the UPM community to really influence policy, you know, because I'm a professor, but I'm not involved like you guys. I'm not involved in the Senate or anything like that. So, you know, the general community, to what extent they have influence on things like objectives or policies, that's hard to say. I don't really feel that we are a very empowered community, but you know, maybe that's just because I'm not formally involved in any of those committees or anything. So these are the kind of issues communities deal with. They deal with, you know, when it comes to participation, who participates, how much they participate, you know, to what extent they influence decision making and stuff like that. So every community has to kind of make those decisions. Okay, so implementation. Okay, so then there's implementation of programs, policies, whatever. Often it's unique to each project. As you guys probably know from your work in PASUMA and other groups, each project has its own unique implementation. Two-way communication is really important between the community and the organizer. And so participation occurs usually through collective action. So UPM is a university, it's an organization, it's a big organization. And of course, organizations are communities, but they're a certain type of community. So being the fact that we are a government-based community or a government-based organization, that also influences how we do our programming and everything, you know, because everything in the government sector is very, how do we say? Very structured, yeah? It's very formal, very structured. You know, you have all the bylaws and the rules that you have to follow from the public service. And, you know, so that has a lot to do with how the community behaves, the UPM community kind of interacts, you know. So if it's a different type of community, maybe it's less formal, so there's a lot more interaction, a lot more collective action and so forth. Okay, so all these things play a role. All these things play a role. Participation must be representative of the different segments of the community. Okay, but Budget allocation must be clear according to activities. So this first one is really important because this idea that, and this is what I was kind of getting at with UPM, is that there may be certain segments of UPM that are participating, like MPP, like the Senate, maybe there's a Dean's Council, for example, and deans of the faculties. So those particular groups, they are participating to some degree. But the rest of the community, we could argue that maybe we don't participate, or that not that much. All right. So that can cause problems sometimes. And then budget allocation, of course, has to be clear. So that goes without saying. That's kind of common sense, right? In order to do the activities. Now, there's always resistance. There's always conflict. This is part and parcel of any group of human beings, whether it's a community, an organization, a team. There's always going to be some kind of conflict anytime human beings get together. So communities also have conflict. It's a normal part of human life. All right. Sometimes you have resistance, people that don't go along with decisions. They want to challenge decisions. Okay, that's common. All right. And so especially leaders of communities have to be aware of this. They have to expect the fact that some of their members are not going to agree with everything. They're not going to agree with every decision. They're not going to agree with every program. All right. And so we shouldn't necessarily take that as a bad thing. It's a normal thing. It's actually quite normal. All right. So of course, the question is, how do we deal with it? Okay, so it's the responsibility of the community development workers or leaders, I would argue, leaders, to reduce the resistance and conflict by first educating the community about the advantages of the project. So it's really important that when you do a community development program, especially if you're in the leadership role, but even if you're just a participant, that you're aware and that you share, that people are aware of the advantages of the project. Why are we doing this program? Why are we doing this project? If the community is aware of it and they see the benefits of it, it'll be easier to reduce that conflict. But if people think that, oh, this is just somebody's agenda, or this is just a useless program just to, make ourselves popular on Facebook or something, then you're going to definitely have conflict, right? So there has to be a clear reason, a clear rationale for doing that particular program. And so it's important to communicate these advantages. And this will reduce the conflict. Of course, training, HRD people, you guys know this, I'm sure, quite well, the need for training. This is your field. HRD. All right, so training is very important, okay, for capacity building. What is capacity building? Have you heard of this? Have we talked about this yet, this concept? Capacity building. I think we've talked about it. I vaguely remember us discussing this. What is capacity building in relation to training? So when you train somebody, you're building their capacity. What does that mean? Any idea? Does anybody know?
Yeah, KSAs or abilities.
Yep. So you're enhancing their abilities, their knowledge, skills, attitude. Yes. All of that is capacity building. All right. So it's an individual's capacity to do something, their ability, their capability, all those things. So all those things put into one. Okay. So yeah. So training, it might be skills, it might be knowledge, it might be attitude, it might be competency. But whatever it is, it's building, increasing their ability to carry out those different responsibilities or whatever. Okay. So training is really essential for that, because local level, community level, people may not get it in formal educational settings. So that, training is really important. So for example, project management, people in some kampong, they don't know how to manage projects. They never learned it in school. They never did their degree in HRD at UPM. They don't know what it means to manage a project. So you bring in the trainer to teach people basic project management skills, right? So that's building their ability, their capacity to carry out quality projects. Okay, so training is really important for that. Build up people's capacity, their abilities and their capabilities. Okay, so this is a really important part of participation. If people can't do something, there's no way they can participate. If they're not capable of actually carrying out a task, they can't participate. So the more we build their capacity, the more capable they'll be to participate. It's that simple, right? And so there's an argument that, well, if you really want to control a group of people, you keep them ignorant and uneducated, because if they're not educated, they can't do things for themselves, right? They have no capacity to act. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to do it. So you can easily control them, right? And so this is always the argument for why, like a democratic country needs a well-educated population. Because for people to participate in democracy like this, community at the community level, to really participate in community and to build strong communities, they have to know what they're doing. They have to have the capacity to do it, which means they have to be educated, right? So it's really important. Again, and monitoring, you have to make sure that things are going as planned, you know, that the process is taking place, evaluating it, all right? So participation facilitates the process of learning. Monitoring is needed to ensure principles of community development are being practiced. Okay, so it's this idea of the process evaluation, making sure that as we go along, that things are occurring as they're supposed to be. They're moving along properly. Okay, so monitoring, evaluating. This is something that often is missed in a lot of community programs. They don't evaluate what they do. They don't monitor what they do. So they might be missing opportunities to improve on how they do things. And then impact assessment, which comes at the end of the program or the end of the initiative. All right, we want to measure the outcome. Okay, so this is also known as outcome evaluation, okay, or summative evaluation. All right, so measure the outcome felt by the community. So did the program really benefit the community? This is the impact assessment. Okay, outcome is in the form of behavioral and institutional changes. So there must be some kind of behavioral or institutional change to really declare that there's been some kind of impact, right? The community development program has had an impact on the community because we see some kind of positive change. Okay, so now people are not throwing their rubbish on the sidewalk. You know, they're throwing it in the bin or in their house, throwing it away. And so we see that there is a visible change in the behavior of the people in the community as a result of our, you know, program on environmental awareness, for example. Okay, so we clearly see an outcome. All right, and that's it. So there's these are nine sort of practical aspects of participation. Okay, so nine operational issues. Okay, any questions, any comments? So I want you to use those 9 indicators there. I want to share, go back to Portugal. So what I want you to do now is I'm going to put you back into your breakout groups from the other week, not the same groups. We'll go back to 6 groups like last time. And so this time, as you see in the Puja Blast down here, I want you to try and find a community development program again, but try to find one that elaborates a little bit more on how its participants get involved and how they are involved. What kind of involvement is there? What kind of participation is there in the program? You know, so maybe they talk about members will do this or members do this, or, you know, if you want to be a member, you know, do this, get involved in this way. Or maybe if it's a report on a program or a project that was carried out, what did the members do? How did they participate? Okay. It may be from the website. There may be information, or from the Facebook page. Okay. Try and get as much information as you can about how the members or the participants, volunteers, whatever they are in the community, how they participate. All right, and see what you can come up with. And so I'll give you like 30 minutes or so, 30 or 40 minutes, and just see what you can come up with. Okay. Don't worry. You don't have to get all 9 of those operational factors, but try and get as many as you can, or at least a description of how participation kind of occurs in the program. All right, so go ahead and see what you can come up with. Are there any questions? And then if you can each group can just do a short report out again, like last time, that would be great. Is it all right? Clear?
Yes, Prof. Clear.
Okay. So let me send you off into your groups. We'll do 6 again. Okay, so just look for the link on your screen there. And off you go. Okay, see you in a bit. If anybody has any trouble getting into their breakout room, just let me know.
Kick out from the room.
Okay. Which room were you in? Do you remember? Do you know?
Room 5.
Okay, let me send you back there. Uh-oh.
Thank you, Prof.
Oh, wait. Does it say on your screen which room it's sending you to? I think I sent you to the wrong one.
Yes, it stated room 5.
Oh, betul.
Yeah.
Oh, I think it's because of your internet connection. I can hear it.
Yeah.
Okay, tak apa, no problem. If you
Thank you, Prof.
get kicked out again, just let me know. Okay, let's just give our friends another couple minutes to finish up. I've asked them to come back to the main room. Okay, since we are running out of time, it's getting late. Let's start the presentation. So I think there's let's see, room 3, group 4, group 6 are all back, I think. No. So let's just start, and the rest will come in when they're done. All right. This is just for us to learn from one another. Okay. I want to learn from you guys to see what you came up with. And so let's just hear what you have in terms of your examples of participation from the field. Group 3? I think you're all back. Would you like to go first, Hadi? Your group?
Yes, Prof.
Jesse. Okay, Jesse, you can present.
Can I share the slide, Prof?
Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
Please.
And just a couple minutes. This does not have to be long, you know, just a quick overview.
Okay, so hi and good afternoon everyone. So our program is ECA program and Light Up Borneo. ECA program it stands for English Teaching Assistant. It's focused on English Teaching Assistant program, and which their team is Let There Be Light. And second program is Light Up Borneo partners with YTL Corporation.
Okay.
Our program is almost the same because they help those in the rural community to bring the power to to bring the electricity to the village. Okay, the activity, they bring the electricity to remote kampong using the hydroelectric technology. Second is they carrying the equipment to Borneo jungles to a remote kampong. As you can see, the picture that is on the right side is the example of how they carry the equipment. The third is they create the all natural and free light using the waterfall and turbine made by the volunteers. And fourth is because the people at the village people, they do not attend the school, they don't have the right education, so they have language barriers with the community, but along the way they can learn a new language and culture. And fifth is the expedition help the volunteers to see themselves in the mirror and look what they are missing.
I see.
So next is the Light Up Borneo program. Is YTL, they partner with Light Up Borneo to help the community on the renewable energy sources to change the life of around 200 to 250 villagers in Kampong Iburu. Kampong Iburu is I forgot to mention that actually these two type of program is focused on those in rural community in Sabah. Okay, so the picture in the on the right side is the example of the Kampong Iburu. Kampong Iburu. The second activity like to remote village, and because before this, the Iburu village they are depend on the foraging land, candles and details to power their home.
Okay.
And next, for the involvement, Hadi, I pass to Hadi.
All right. Assalamualaikum and a very good evening to all. So basically, okay, thank you to Jess for the quick wrap up regarding regarding the activity that involve for each program. So basically for the involvement for the each program. So as we as after we discuss in group, we found out that actually the main involvement, the main groups that involved in these two programs is the first one is the corporate, social and civil society. The second one is the YTL Corporation themselves. And the third one is the Light Up Borneo NGO volunteer squad. And the last one is the committee headed by Mr. Purus Karas. That is that is related to the YTL project just now. So after the involvement, actually, we also discussed regarding to the impact assessment regarding to the Light Up Borneo for the program regarding the YTL. So basically the first impact assessment that we found is trusting of the pupil around to accept foods and invitation and friendship without questioning motive and implications. So I think everyone understood that with this trust already, it, what you call it, has come unbounding a new adventures and deep relationship, as well as a greater understanding of this place. Basically, it helps the people who join the program to what you call it, to give themselves into the adventures and know and understand about the place they are heading to. And the second one is forced to protect vulnerability, whereby it means that it explain us about the way to shield it with a blanket. Basically, it is a, what you call it, sentences that we get from the one of the program, which is the ETA program, the English teaching assessment program. So basically, from this sentence, to shield it with a blanket of sort, to be wary of those who offer help, to scan a room for threats, and to instinctively know if being watched or stalked. Basically, from the sentence, we understood that actually the person actually it tell us about the, what you call it, the the hardships and the way on how he forced to protect the vulnerability of herself during the program. And the third one is forced to think and reflect on ideologies of this world. So basically, it reflect to us, whereby it tell us about the realization of how little need to lead fulfilling lives, a deep admiration for familiarity and respect within kampung cultures. That's why it focuses on the force to think and reflect on our on ideologies of this world. Okay, that's all from us, Prof. Thank you.
Great, thanks, guys. So, I mean, I realize I didn't give you very much time to find these programs and to come up with this. So it's a good effort, very good effort, in such a short period of time. So that's an interesting program. So clearly, that is a kampong, very rural area kind of program. So you can see a lot of the contextual program context issues there, right? About being a marginalized community in a rural area and so forth, safety and all that. So definitely issues related to participation have to do with trust, and then who, the people involved and the context of the program. So, but interesting example. Okay. Thank you, group. What group are you? 4, 3? I forgot. 5.
Group 3, Prof.
Group 3. Okay, which group would like to go next? Just a couple minutes. Share what you found.
Group 4.
Group 4. Go ahead, group 4. You may share your screen. Or if you don't have a screen to share, you can just discuss. Oh, Annie's going to share her screen.
Can you see, Prof?
Yeah, I can see.
Okay, Assalamualaikum and good
Salam.
afternoon. So we are from Breakout Room 4. Basically, we found 3 types of program related with the community development program. So the first one is Malaysia Homestead Experience Program. This program is the initiative under Malaysian's Rural Tourism Master Plan. So they in this program, basically they aim to increase participation of the rural community in the tourism industry and to reduce rural urban migration. The concept of this program is focused on the lifestyle and to give experience to tourists, and the uniqueness of lifestyle, cultural activities, and the rural economic activities are the main attraction in this program. So the objective of participation rural community is, first is to share the benefits of the tourism industry. Second is to boost household income through rural tourism entrepreneur development and job creations. And the third objective is to educate and train rural community in hospitality and tourism industry. So other than participation of rural community, this program also participate college student. So the objective of participation college student is to educate and expose young generation on Malaysia local traditions.
Okay, that's cool.
So the second program is the Bioeconomic Community Development Program. So this program is one of the initiative under National Blue Ocean Strategy. This is the international program. So it's formulated to improve socio-economic well-being that targeting B40 by generating more income and job opportunity in the country. So the objective of the participation is to develop unskilled farmer into bioagropreneur and enhance social mobility through technology-based entrepreneurship, and also to increase revenue of bionexus status companies through sustainable supply of raw materials from cooperative. So next program I pass to Fatin.
Okay, thank you, Andy. So the third program is Perhentian Aslan Teaching and Community Project in Terengganu, which is the project is about to illustrate the importance of respecting and protecting local environment and wildlife, and also improving villages' quality of life. The participation of member volunteer is to involve in regular beach clean. Second is to involve in hosting weekly environmental club, and the third is involved in teaching English and life lesson to local children.
Okay.
And the fourth program is volunteering in community teaching and development in Cairo, which is um, the participation of member or volunteer is to need to involve in educating and protecting underprivileged children. Second is to involve in providing safe shelter for the less fortunate. Third is to engage in sharing knowledge and teaching to children while engage engage them with recreational activities, and finally they need to working with child, young adult afflicted with a wide array of special needs such as cerebral palsy, autism, deafness, and speech impediments. That's all from us.
Okay, so yeah, I realized that the short amount of time doesn't really allow you to go sort of in depth to try and find out the participation, the way that people participate in the different programs. So I understand that, and I realized that. So that was interesting. You gave us a little bit of a sampling of 4 different types of community development programs, and I think what you presented mostly is the objectives of the programs. So that's part of, that's an important part of participation, to show how people participate, at least the regular members, how they participate in those programs. Okay, so yeah, and I realized that with the short period of time, you can't really go into too much depth to understand how participation really occurs. So that's good examples. Thank you. Group 2, was that group 2? Okay.
Group,
Okay, next group.
Room 6.
Okay, we only got 10 minutes, so we may have to suspend this until the next class, but it's okay. Continue. Group 6 can go for now.
Hi, we're from room 6. We're going to be discussing on PAWS Animal Welfare Society. So what is PAWS? PAWS Animal Welfare Society is a non-profit animal shelter in PJ that has been in operation since 1987. They receive the surrender of unwanted dogs and cats, which will vaccinate and deworm. PAWS accept unwanted pets and stray animals, puppies, adult dogs, kittens, and adult cats. They also have hundreds of animals waiting for a forever home. They accept volunteer to take care or even just to play with the animals. I'm gonna pass the slide to Saliha.
Okay, for the volunteer activities, when we volunteer at PAWS, we can choose to spend time with any animals that we want, and we can also do the work that we enjoy. Next, if we do not have any specific activities that we would like to carry out at the shelter, we will be assigned to the activities which may include cleaning the shelter area and also spending time with the animals. And as the volunteers, we must be able to work independently, as there will be minimal supervision and also guidance during the volunteering activities. Next. Okay, for the volunteer times, These volunteer activities is available on Monday to Sunday, except Wednesday and public holidays from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And also for the Wednesday and public holiday, it will be closed for the maintenance. However, for the conditional movement control order (CMCO), all of the volunteering activities will remain suspended until further notice due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. For the next part, I will pass to my friend Chris.
Alright, assalamualaikum and good afternoon, everyone. So my point is about the volunteer process, and all the volunteers are required to fill in the online volunteer form before starting any volunteering work, and you can check it on the website. And for volunteers who wish to come in, please call the office at the 03 and 77846 1087 to make an appointment beforehand. Slot availability is on a first come, first served basis. The maximum number of the volunteers the shelter can accommodate at any on one time in the 5 persons. And for your first volunteering session, be sure to fill in the volunteer form about to register as a volunteer before starting any work. And once you have done this, you can get started right away. And you will not be required to register anymore after your first session for the next. So take note before you volunteer and describe appropriately comfortable t-shirt and long pants and closed shoes for your safety. And for volunteers who wish to walk the dogs, they must bring along some plastic bags. And duration of the volunteering is entirely up to yours as long as it is within the available volunteering hours. All right, so this is for our presentation.
Okay, thank you. I forgot what group that was, but thank you, group 6. Yes. Okay, so that's an animal shelter, and of course, animal lovers tend to be constitute, strong communities, especially with their activities. So I think that's a good example of an organization. But of course, that organization, of course, will definitely reflect a community of people who are very much interested in animal welfare and so forth. Okay, so that presentation gave us a little bit taste of the structure of the type of project that they do, of the work that they do, objectives, how they implement some of their programs and so forth. So we get a little bit of a taste of that from the presentation. So that's good. Thank you very much, Group 6. All right, well, I think it's almost time. It's about 2 o'clock. So I think we'll stop there. I apologize that the other groups didn't get to present. But I appreciate your effort in putting that together quickly with very little time. I'm amazed at how resourceful you guys can be in such a short period of time, actually, because it's actually quite a lot to do in just 30 minutes to go and try to identify a program and then put that presentation together. So I appreciate your effort. Okay, so that'll be it for this week. So just a reminder, in 2 weeks, you have your assignment 1 due. If there's any questions or problems, let me know. If you have a problem uploading the video, for example, or anything, let me know, please, just WhatsApp. And for those who are celebrating Bulan Puasa and Hari Raya, Selamat Hari Raya, early to everyone. Please stay safe, everyone, over the break. For those of us in Selangor, we are back under MCO, so we'll be having our home-based Hari Rayas again. So, and Maaf Zahir Batin to everyone, at least for the first half of the semester. Maaf Zahir Batin. And then I wish you all the enjoyable and blessed Hari Raya, and inshallah I'll see you in 2 weeks. Sorry, I have no Kueh Raya to share with you over WhatsApp, over Zoom. So.
Okay, Prof. Thank you, Prof. And happy Raya to you.
Okay.
Prof.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prof.
And happy Puasa to you too.
Selamat Hari Raya, Prof.
Okay, sama. Take care.
Selamat Hari Raya, Prof.
Terima kasih, sama.